Stop beating yourself up over that.
Yeah.
That's going to happen.
Yeah. Aren't you a pastor? Just saying. We'll call him a philanthropath. It's a psychopath disguised as a philanthropist.
Unfortunately, some members of the community platforms push their own personal bias and agenda to control exactly what people think, and this is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
Because that's how the mind works.
And some of the trees actually still have their leaves.
I used to ride my motorcycle throughout, Healdsburg and Santa Rosa after the fires hit, and I was like, this is not natural.
The perception of truth. Podcast.
I'm Vernon Roach.
And I'm Julianne Bryson.
And this is Perception of Truth Podcast. Yeah, man. So, growing up, my childhood. Let's talk about my childhood and all the trauma that comes along with it. So growing up.
I'm not laughing at you. I'm not laughing with you. I'm just laughing because you make light of something that's, painful and tragic, and yet you have a sense of humor. So thank you, brother, for just being so evolved.
Well, thank you for saying that, because the thing is I'm thankful for my childhood. No matter how hard it was, it made me who I am today. Mm-hmm. So, and we've had these conversations over and over. I grew up poor, in poverty, and my family did the best they could. You know what I mean? And we were lucky to have a TV.
Yep.
And the TV that we did have was black and white for a long time in my childhood, and legacy media controlled the airwaves, mm-hmm. and it was everything,
Yeah.
And then the generations before me, my parents and my grandparents, they were indoctrinated so much. Like when you saw something on the news, it was the truth. Yeah. Like it was, and journalism should be like that. It should be. You should be able to trust the news. Mm-hmm. But we live in this world of misinformation, fake news, legacy media, with the ushering in of social media, mm-hmm. and how that, was a game changer. Mm-hmm. It brought everybody directly in contact all over the world. Mm-hmm. And so where legacy media got into the habit of not even being right about what they were reporting, just being the first one to report something.
Yeah.
That's the world we live in. And you never know what you're consuming.
Yeah.
Because of the narratives of it. And just like this last presidential administration, mm-hmm. The narratives were so different than what they are now during this administration.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Trump had to go create his own social media app because everybody else was censoring him. They're censoring the president. I mean, that right there tells you. And, it's funny. It's like social media. We now know most of these apps were created by the government, right, to surveil the public and to control the public. And I think at a certain point, it just got away from them. And now there was a tipping point. Maybe that tipping point was when Trump got in office. Maybe it was towards the end of the Biden. I'm not sure when that happened. I just know, even though we're still seeing a lot of censorship, generally speaking, you can get your message across on social media. You may not be able to do it on Facebook, but I mean, you could post a lot of stuff now that I used to get taken down like in a half a second. It'd be like censored. So I'm really happy to see that. And social media is definitely, it's a double-edged sword, I think, because again, we know that the government uses it to surveil and control us, and yet there are certain ways that you can do it where it's a lot less censorship, and there's definitely a lot more free speech now than there was 2 years ago, 3 years ago, and the legacy media hasn't been able to deliver the truth because they're still controlled by the cabal, right? So they try to like close all the gaps. It's like a hose that has a hole in it, right? This information is just flowing through that hose, and all those little tears in the hose are where the truth comes out. And it's like the legacy media is over here trying to like close up all the holes of the hose and like as fast as they can. And they can't do it fast enough because the information is now coming out like a fire hose, right?
Yeah.
Like from a fire hydrant, where it's just like rushing out so fast, and they can't close those holes and gaps of information fast enough. And now like the information war has actually flipped, and truthers now actually have the podium. It's amazing, actually, when you think about what's happened. It's so awesome. Like, we wanted to do this podcast 3 years ago,
Right.
and I was like, the stuff I want to talk about will never see the light of day. Like, we'll
right.
get censored in a half a minute. And, you know, there's probably going to be some apps that try to censor us still, but it's not going to be anything like it was 3 years ago when we conceived of this and wanted to actually do this.
Which brings up the great segue there is, if you're listening to this, tune in, share it on social media, share it across the board.
Yeah.
Because we're in control.
Amen.
Yeah, we the people. And you know, the legacy media is all about programming. That's why they call it programs.
Right.
And the programming is at an all-time high because things are, you know, starting to unravel, you know, with late night talk shows starting to just be like, hey, we don't have the money for this. Why is that? Why is there no money for that anymore?
Because people want entertainment. They don't stay up to watch the Late Show to get some indoctrination or some like totally biased political take on stuff. Who wants to watch that at late night? I mean, it used to be like, even Johnny Carson said, don't ever talk about stuff like that. That's not what people want. You know, they're going to tune into their news source if they want the news. So I just, at a certain point, they killed comedy and they tried to replace it with BS. And I think people are just like over it. I mean, it's such a joke, but all these people that are getting canceled now are all the people that were canceling everybody else. It's like
Cancel culture, man. You know, that's shifted a lot. There's been a big paradigm shift with that. Like, it's people see through it now. Like you know, and that's part of critical thinking, and that's part of waking up to what's really going on. Is not accepting the narratives.
Yep.
And not accepting the narrative when there's no logic in it. Like it doesn't make any sense. And I think that's happened so much throughout my lifetime. I mean, there's so many administrations that promise things, got into power, and then it's the same story. Well, they didn't do anything they said they were going to do. Okay. So how do we change that? Well, you go vote. You know, well, that can be affected. That can be manipulated. You know,
Yeah.
then it evolved into the internet.
Yeah.
Now we got countries like Russia that have collusion and can affect things with campaigns through digital marketing on social media.
Yeah. But that whole Russia thing, they just revealed, even though they've known it all along, they just revealed what a big joke it was and a big hoax. You know, back when Trump was saying it's a hoax, and everybody's like, come on, what are you talking about? You know, that's, you know, you're guilty as charged. Like, no, I haven't been guilty of anything. I'm just trying to tell you fools what's the truth, and nobody seems to think, you know, how much control the population is over from the legacy media. All they are is just the mouthpiece for the cabal.
Yeah.
And again, they pit us against each other with this right versus left. It's all an illusion. It's an absolute illusion. And, you know, at some point, I think things did switch. I'm not going to say that the truthers have control of legacy media now, but just the fact that, like, Howard Stern canceled.
Yeah, that's
I
great.
mean, and remember when he was saying, like, he didn't want any Trump supporters to watch his show anymore, and then, like, his ratings like tanked after that. Dude, you can't alienate your audience. Like, you're supposed to be, I don't know what he's supposed to be besides, you know, just a scumbag, but yeah,
See,
not going to be missed.
Yeah. So even that, where I think about it is like, I agree with Carson and I agree with people, and I've even heard celebrities in interviews say the same thing. Like, I always go back to that Matthew McConaughey interview on The View, you know, when Joy Behar was trying to bait him into talking about his views politically. And he stopped her and he said, I'll tell you what, we're not going to go there.
Yeah.
You know, because I'm not here to do that. I see what you're doing. I'm not here to do that. I'm here to promote my movie. I'm here to talk about what I do, you know, that people are interested in this. You know, I'm not here to talk about, you know, how I feel. I'll do that at home in my personal life.
Right.
And see, that's the biggest problem, the double-edged sword, if you will, is there is no personal life now.
Yeah.
Like it's so I remember when politics, nobody wanted to talk about it.
Right.
If that's your personal view, cool.
Yeah.
You know, I'm going to go do what I want to do. I'm going to make my own critical thinking assessment on what I want to do.
Yeah.
Instead of being told or pushed in a direction to do it.
Yeah, and let's not forget that Obama basically reenacted that Mundt Act. I think it's called that. It's like something that basically allowed propaganda to be legal through the news. Like, it basically gave all the media the legal ability to lie to us.
What I mean by this whole Smith-Mundt Act thing is, in 1948, the Smith-Mundt Act was passed at the same time that the plausible deniability doctrine under NSC 10-2 gave the State Department and CIA and our National Security Council the ability to lie to the American people in order to influence world events, manipulate elections, co-opt the media, co-opt civil society institutions, but deny that the U.S. government was doing it. So the Smith-Mundt Act was designed to say, listen, when the CIA goes out and prints false news stories or pays or bribes journalists to write things that aren't true, but they are useful for U.S. propaganda in a region, the Smith-Mundt Act protected Americans from 1948 until 2013 from that propaganda being distributed here in the homeland. President Obama tore that down in the NDAA that passed in his second term, and that is one of the reasons we are so infected by blob propaganda, because we have no legal protections against that anymore.
Yeah.
It's legal to make a commercial, no matter the view of it, to affect some, an election. Like, that's normal.
Yeah.
And that's mudslinging. That is personal stuff. Like, they bring out personal stuff about people's lives and their actions and who they are, and and
Well, even just hiring, like singers and, music talent for any kind of election, it's basically considered election interference. They're not even supposed to be doing that, so I think people saw through all that during this last election too.
Absolutely.
With, Beyonce showing up and not even singing, and then like everybody leaves the stadium right after, and then they try to go on. Then the mainstream news like spits the narrative that nobody's showing up at Trump's rallies, that they're all going to Kamala's, but then like Trump literally like rents out the biggest arena in every single city that he went to. It's crazy when you look at those numbers. Like, he would always rent out the biggest arena. And then he's like, we only need a small stage. I want to have enough seats. And every seat's taken. And then the mainstream news is like, nobody goes to Trump's rallies. Nobody cares what that clown has to say. I'm like, I'm paraphrasing, but
no,
that's just so ridiculous. And then they literally would say that Kamala was getting these huge crowds, and it was complete nonsense. It's just... again, it's incredible that they get away with these lies. It's just incredible to me.
Yeah, and to add to that, Bernie Sanders was on Joe Rogan, and he literally slipped up and said that. He said, yeah, we know these people. They follow us around from, and they're part of the deal. And they show up to these places. And Joe was like, you know what I mean? Like, huh? So you're telling me that you have staff that show up, pretty much,
Oh, well, they were busing in people for Kamala's, all of her rallies and stuff. They were like literally busing in people from different parts of other states nearby. And
And just to be fair, I don't know if Trump did that or not. I don't.
It would be hard to.
It would be hard to have that many. Yeah,
there'd be videos of buses and stuff, just like you saw with the Kamala rallies. Like I don't. I think people actually like Trump a lot more than what the media is going to tell you, and so it's just what a psychological. It's a psyop. The whole thing is a big psyop. It's just incredible.
And psyops are real.
Most people have no awareness of how easily our behavior and even our identity can be completely taken over. But people are waking up. I spent 20 years in the U.S. military. I'm a behavior expert. I've trained psyops. I'm the best-selling author in behavioral psychology. I want to show you exactly how to identify what we call engineered reality, or what some people call psyops. So the first thing you need to know is following the FATE model: focus, authority, tribe, and emotion. This is what triggers the mammalian part of our brain that makes all of our real decisions. The first part is focus. Psyops always aim to hijack your attention with repetition, shocking visuals of fear-inducing scenarios. Some examples are like 24/7 media coverage of a crisis, or constant repetition of terms like unprecedented. So with this, pause and ask, why is this message being pushed so aggressively? So compare how much airtime different stories are receiving and note any disproportionate focus. The second part here is authority. Trusted figures might shift their tone or positions unnaturally to support the narrative. So watch very closely for expert panelists or endorsements where authority figures might speak outside of their expertise. Pay close attention to that one. Then we have tribe. So messages that polarize opinions or create stark in-groups versus out-groups or exploit our tribal instincts. For example, labeling groups as patriots versus traitors or scientific versus deniers. Be very careful when you hear that language. Finally, we have emotion. So be wary of any communication that triggers strong emotions like fear, hope, or outrage without any clear, verifiable evidence. So emotional responses suppress critical thinking. Emotional responses suppress critical thinking. So as a tip here, analyze the evidence that's presented to you. If facts are replaced by appeals to emotion, you need to be very, very cautious. As an example of this, think about like a news channel repeatedly showing images of empty grocery shelves and panicked shoppers during a food supply scare. It dominates every broadcast and it pushes people into fear-driven behavior.
Remember during the whole COVID thing where the psychologist, I can't remember the name of the particular scientist, but he called it mass formation, where they get just a huge sector of the population believing something that's like complete nonsense, but because they have such a sway over their decision-making process, it's probably like MK Ultra mind control. It's probably being used like on the whole population in ways, and then people develop these opinions, and then like if you're the one person that's outside of that huge group and you're telling the truth, it's so easy to make you look like the crazy one because everybody else is believing a lie. So
Yes.
that's why the perception of truth is important. What do you perceive to be the truth? Because if you think the lies are the truths, then the truths are going to be the lies. And that's why if you're outspoken and then the mainstream media just perpetuates these lies, well, luckily we have social media, and luckily we have avenues for telling the truth, and we also have the First Amendment, which people don't even realize they need to fight for. So.
And then to go further with that, you have faith. Mm-hmm. So in your discernment, so when you stay prayed up and you stay armored up, those things present themselves, and it opens your heart and your mind on a whole other level. Mm-hmm. because I mean, I've had it happen in the physical realm. Mm-hmm. I've literally had evil manifest in front of me through people. Yeah. Because I walk in my truth with the Spirit. Yeah. And literally, it's just like an exorcism. It's like an exorcism. Yeah. Like, and the truth, when you walk in the Spirit, it literally makes that stuff manifest to the surface. Mm-hmm. And the darkness cannot stand it. And what you're seeing is a representation of that, because you're living in two different dimensions. Mm-hmm. You're living in the physical realm and the spiritual realm, and there's a war going on both sides. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Most people are just living in the physical and the natural
that's the
world,
problem. Yeah.
But they forget about the spiritual side,
Well, we talked about that.
Yeah.
Some people are so embedded in the physical side. Mm-hmm. That's where we come up with those terms like avatar syndrome. Yeah. Yeah. Yep. People are so disconnected because there's a dual reality going on, because people grow up on social media now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And video games.
Definitely. Video games and watching people play video games. Like, there's gamers out there, these young kids. My son, my teenage son, he plays games like Fortnite, things like that. Yeah. And he's we were talking with John earlier, about his son and how he wants to be a gamer, and he has a schedule like, hey man, from 7 to 9, I'm go ahead, and I'm at work, Dad. I'm at work.
That's funny.
At Treatables, we understand that every pet is unique, so we offer a range of products to meet their specific needs, all packed with the same powerful 5-in-1 benefits for a balanced, healthy lifestyle, whether it's easing stress, supporting joints, boosting immunity, balancing digestion, or bringing calm to the day. Treatables products are designed with these 5 essential benefits in mind. For pets who prefer a crunchier option, our hard chewables are crafted to be both satisfying and beneficial. Our soft chewables provide all the same benefits in an easy-to-enjoy form that's easier on teeth for senior pets. If you're looking for flexibility, our oil droppers let you control the dosage with ease and for targeted relief. Our transdermal cream works directly on the skin, providing a soothing direct application for aches and stresses, but can also be used for general purposes by applying to the tips of the ear. A healthy, happy pet means harmony for the whole family.
So just Avatar syndrome, you know.
Oh my goodness.
Just being out of touch with reality because you've grown up on a platform where you're not in the physical reality all the time. You're literally zoned in on an avatar of yourself in a digital world that everybody sees and associates with and engages with and communicates with and because I told you the story. We were on tour and we were doing meet and greets and some of the fans would come up and they wouldn't say nothing. They would take the picture and go on and then the next day we would get an inbox on social media and it would be them with this big long eloquent I've been wanting to meet you for a long time. You were an inspiration. And I'm like, man, I missed that.
Yeah, why didn't you tell me in
I would have loved to
person?
have heard that. Yeah, why didn't you share it with me instead of sending me an inbox and telling me? But and most of the time in that case, it was so. And I know you've had this interaction with people. Mm-hmm. It's no eye contact and just kind of almost in a bubble.
The younger generation, it's so sad, but you go into like restaurants and the hostess might be like 22 years old or something. And it's just not like, oh, hi, welcome. Can we see? And I'm not saying all restaurants have this, but I mean, it's just something you notice when you're older and you're used to like making eye contact with people and having like a friendly interaction when you're dealing in a customer service scenario. Like, I mean, and people these days don't even know how to do that anymore. It's like they don't say hello.
Nope.
They don't make eye contact. They can't even count change properly. Like, don't even ask them to give, if it's $1.83 and you give them, $2.03 because you want 2 dimes back, and they're looking at you like, what do I do here?
What happened? Oh my God. Boom. Yeah. It's like, yeah.
Well, they don't want, it goes back to the whole Kissinger thing. Like, we're just going to create, and Rockefeller as well, because, 100 years ago or whenever it was, less than 100 years ago, when they changed the whole education system and changed all of the curriculum.
I don't want thinkers. I want workers.
Exactly. But now, what good are workers when, past administrations have basically sent all our manufacturing to other countries like China? But now Trump's bringing it back, and there's actually going to be more, blue collar jobs.
I love it.
And it's like he actually said something recently about, hey, maybe college isn't the best route. Maybe have your kid go to a trade school, learn a trade, learn something that's going to be useful and that's going to actually, I think he said something about there's going to be like 6-figure jobs that are, in the trades, which is awesome.
Absolutely. Please do that. And that's what I love. These are chess moves like that, especially on the tariffs and bringing all of the manufacturing back.
Yep.
Because they're opening up a massive semiconductor plant in Harrodsburg, Kentucky.
Yep.
And it's going to create all of these jobs,
Yep.
and that's a trade.
Mm-hmm.
You get in there and you learn a skill and you learn this thing, and because that's what's diminished in the country.
Yep.
And most of that stuff is very. It takes a lot of critical, independent thinking to do a trade, because you don't have to just work for somebody when you learn a trade. You can be independent and do the job, as an independent contractor, and get out here and make your own way.
Yeah.
And not have to rely on systems like college and things like that, because, all I've heard for decades now is, I got to pay off my student loans. I got to pay off my student loans. What? So
It's horrible.
So you go and you spend, unless you're just, a scholar to the point to where they just pay you to be there, or at least cover your expenses while you're getting educated, which is the small percentile of everybody that goes to college, may I add. Yeah. Statistically, you come out of the gate behind the 8 ball.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a whole other conversation, just the college scam. I only went to 1 year of college. I was like, I'm out. This ain't for me, and I'm going to go seek the knowledge that I want, and I'm going to find the best way to attain it. I'm not going to pay a university to be indoctrinated. Sorry.
Facts. That's why I like I've seen graphs where it shows, and this is all theoretically, but it kind of shows what would happen if somebody just went to work as opposed, or learning a trade and going to work as opposed to going to college to get a job. And the financial part of it is by the time those people get out of college, that person that went to work is so much more, financially secure, ready to develop and develop wealth. That's why I like a lot of these policies with this current administration is it's actually giving wealth to the youth, starting out from the beginning with learning how credit works and giving them a leg up, like $1,000 to get something started. So by the time that they're old enough to get out and go out on their own, they already have a little bit of a nest egg to use. And I just love that, especially for being a father and having children. Please, I can get behind that all day.
Yeah. Wow, that is really awesome. Whew. I was just telling Mac, just raising kids these days is so complicated. I feel for y'all. You got young kids and teenagers. It was complicated back in the 90s when I had my daughter. Don't get me wrong. And I was a single mom. It was tough, but I didn't have a lot of the challenges that you guys have these days. It's between social media and the video game addiction, let's say, not to mention education has gotten even worse than it was when my daughter was in grade school. I just think it's become incredibly difficult. So I think, a lot of the policies of this administration are changing that, and that's a good thing.
It is. It's you make a good point. It is. It's scary. Yeah. It's scary. As a parent nowadays, I spend a lot of times, feeling guilty about a lot of things. Like, am I doing this right? Because and what do I believe about my children's education? And then my wife's a teacher, so I got to see behind the veil there on how, especially during COVID, how they were literally pretty much extorting people to get the jab, and it was like they were paying people to do that, and it's and those kind of things. It's just it's so scary. Like, do you want to send your children to a daycare? Do you want to send them to a school system? It's just horrifying as a parent. And then what are your children consuming?
Exactly. What are they teaching these kids and all the crazy stuff? Again, California is not the beacon of light when it comes to education. I think they're ranked 49th or whatever in all the states. Of course, I think that's by design, but I'm talking about California education because that's where I grew up and that's where I raised my daughter. And when I was in public school back in the 70s and 80s, they taught us critical thinking. I have, a handful of teachers that were amazing. Most of them weren't, but there was some that were just incredible, and they taught us a real education. I got really good English education, and grammar and spelling and all that, math, science, our science teacher took us to the Mojave Desert for a camping trip for 10 days to study the plant life. And it was amazing. I had a great, awesome public education, but I think I just made it because it all changed maybe in the 80s or the 90s.
Now you talking. It sure
Because you're
did.
like 10 years younger than me, so
Yeah.
we're in the same Gen X, right? But you had even more.
I'm on one
BS
end of
to
it.
deal with.
Yeah. Man, like your school system sounded awesome. I grew up in Kentucky, you know, so it was, and in the 80s, there was remnants of that still, and I'm thankful for that. You know, because they would teach things, because I have Cherokee heritage, and they would teach things like the Trail of Tears,
Yeah.
things like that school systems don't do anymore.
Yep.
You know, when I got into high school, we still had a shop class.
Yep.
You know, and there was a TV production class
Oh, cool.
in the high school I went to. Shout out Purple's Bowling Green High School. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. So there was TV production, and I loved that
See,
class.
they didn't have that when I was.
Mr. Owens was one of those teachers,
Nice.
man. Cool teacher. I had some really, really awesome teachers.
Yeah.
And then some of them were just there taking up space, you know what I mean? Trying to cause trouble for people, you know, because they're miserable in their lives. And, but I had some good ones, some real good ones.
Yeah.
And like I said, you know, I grew up poor, you know, so shout out to all of those elementary school teachers that made an impact in my life, that noticed it and had compassion for me. I had one of my teachers, Miss Wigington. She brought clothes to school, hand-me-downs,
Wow.
and gave them to me.
Nice.
Yeah,
Oh, that's
yeah,
very
and
sweet.
I've never forgotten that. And then you know, just all of them, they just hold a special place in my heart, because I think that you're right. I think it was changing so much in the 80s. We had a computer class in elementary school. We were some of the first ones to have a computer class.
Nice.
And Judith Light, you can look this up. Judith Light, my computer class teacher, was one of the teachers that was actually picked to be on the Challenger.
Oh, wow. Oh.
And she
I
was
remember you telling me
friends
that.
with the woman that died on the Challenger. And we were watching it in school.
Whoa.
And she fainted because something happened. I don't remember what it was, but something happened that she wasn't the one, and it was the other woman that wound up going.
Oh, my goodness.
And they knew each other.
Oh, she
Yeah.
fainted right in front of you?
Oh, it was like, yeah, she just watched she was supposed to be on that rocket ship and her friends on it, and you're watching it in real time. Because they showed it in school. They stopped school, and this happened all across the country then. So many kids watched the Challenger explode. I was one of them.
Oh, my goodness.
And you didn't know what you were watching. It was the only thing I can correlate it to in my lifetime on media is watching 9/11. Because you're watching a destruction on TV of that magnitude.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
it's like, you're in shock. Did that just happen?
Well, yeah. When we go down that rabbit hole, let's get Alex on, because
Yes.
he's got some interesting stuff to share on that. Talk about a psyop. Oh, my goodness.
We are going to get Alex on.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't wait to
How
do
the
that.
heck did they make them planes look so realistic? I'm not trying to open up a can of worms or nothing, but I'm just saying.
Man,
But again, it's so interesting to hear his perspective, because he was, in combat 3 times. He's 23 years in the Army and the military, was deployed and had plenty of experiences during that time. He was in Germany when 9/11 happened, and when he saw the towers come down, he knew exactly what he was looking at, because he was in explosives, so he could see what was going on there, that if you weren't trained in that, you could easily be fooled by the CGI and the other trickery that was used to make it look like planes hit the building. Yeah. But again, why would they show that to kids? Like, that's the thing that's so weird to me. Why'd they show the Challenger blowing up? Like, why would they why would you want to traumatize little kids like that? But they traumatize the public with all this stuff. That it's very much by design. I know that sounds really dark, but it's the truth.
Well, to show it in school, and I mean, I'm still affected by it. I mean, it's one of those memories that it's going to be with me forever, just like 9/11 was. You know, I'm sitting there that morning having coffee, and I turned the news on, and the first building had already been hit.
Yeah.
And then I'm sitting there watching it, and the second building got hit. Which, to your point, if it was CGI, there's a delay on broadcast, right?
Yeah.
So you could definitely do that
Yeah.
in that time frame for sure. 110% you could.
Yeah.
So and then when you start getting into all those, because we could do a whole episode about that. The other building,
Yeah. Building 7.
yeah, the way that when you watch it,
Oh, the
it's-
second tower. I see what you're saying. Yeah.
yeah, and the other
Yeah.
mystery
Well,
building.
and also the Pentagon, like that was a whole thing. Like, where's the debris? Where's all the plane crash debris supposedly that happened here? Like, it's totally. I mean, it's asinine the way that they.
I was there a few years ago, and at Ground Zero, and one of the I can't think of his name right now, but shout out to him. He was a New York cop there. He noticed us and recognized us.
Oh, cool.
He could tell we were fish out of water, in downtown New York, and he was like, "I'll just give you a tour." He said, "That's what I do now." He was there the day it happened, and his job now is he does that.
Yeah.
That's where he patrols.
Yeah.
So it was just a cool experience to go from his perspective and walk with him and him show us, everything and talk about it. And I'll tell you, man, the energy there is crazy off the charts.
Demonic energy, or
I can't even. There was so much life lost in a space that the spiritual essence of all of that is still there in a lot of ways. At least that was for me. And this, and I'm very sensitive to those kind of things, and it just, it was just almost overwhelming at times to be there and see it. And because now it's all built back up, and there's memorials and stuff there for it, and it, I don't know, it's just overwhelming is the only thing I can really think of. It was almost so many different emotions and things that I could feel, and just the angst of it, because there's so much. You get up and you go to work and you don't know if it's going to be your last day on earth.
yeah, and think of all the people that had loved ones that died, and they don't even have closure yet because the truth is still not really hit the mainstream on all of that. And I pray that it does, just simply because the truth always has to prevail, and even when it's hard to look at, those people have to be held responsible. All the parties that were involved in that, the real responsible parties, not the people that they tried to pin it on, and I think there's going to be justice someday. I pray for that. I really do. Because it's like all the other big lies that have been told to us. I pray every day that the lies will be revealed, and, we will all be set free by the truth.
And the big buzzword now that goes along with that is nobody's above the law.
Amen.
Not even the president of the United
Thank
States.
you.
The Perception of Truth. Podcast.